All right, so one of the things I would say is that you're doing this and it looks really perfect, which is problematic. And so I would have your reference, like notice how this reflection kind of breaks up a little bit, and yours is like perfectly gradient across.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll notice that the highlights here bend around, and that, right, that form, they bend around, and yours just stops short. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would come in and and I like to do this, so I'll come in and like mask just the thing that I'm looking at so that I can kind of focus in and not get distracted by stuff. And so you're also using gradients all over the place where you don't necessarily need to. Like there's no reason for this to be a gradient. It's a pretty hard edge. And so we can just turn this. Let's see, is that a separate object? Does that line up to? Okay, like that.
How did you do that?
This is Command Y. So Command Y will toggle back and forth to give you an outline view. So the first thing that I notice on this, and I'm going to expand my clip here so I can see what's going on down here. First thing I notice is that the silhouette of this is going to be important, right? And so you have a rounded rectangle, but this actually isn't a rounded rectangle. So it's straight on the sides, but it kind of crowns here at the top. It does round, but it kind of crowns at the top and it crowns at the bottom, and it's straight in the middle. And so instead of doing a rounded rectangle, let's put these back, and then let's pull this up. So I'm going to use, let me go like that, get this as centered as I can, do the same down here. Okay, and now I'm going to grab those corners and round them off. See, but already our shape is looking a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll notice that the gradient, which is a linear gradient, doesn't match anymore. And that's because this isn't a linear gradient, meaning that it's not straight lines. And so I would just choose a base color for this. And one of the things that I think is super helpful is to not use a black. And so I'm seeing here like a dark green, kind of a dark bluish green. Okay, but you can kind of choose anything that'll work, within your color palette. And so this wouldn't be a bad color. And so we'll kind of just grab this color, and then I'm going to go into HSB. Okay, and I'm just going to mix that way down. I'm almost going to make it black, but it's not actually black, and so it'll feel more realistic, being that it is just a darker value of an actual hue. Okay, and I can take that over here, and I can make myself just a quick kind of reference what is going on with the computer. Yeah. Okay, so I'll grab this, and I'm going to throw one down here. I'm just going to crank that up. Okay, but my highlights are a little bit more blown out, so they're desaturated. Okay, and they're a little muddy. And so if it helps, I can even bring this over here and try to mix them that way. Bring this to the top. Nope. It's because it's probably in a different layer. So let me just grab this and move it over. Yeah. Okay, so they're a little bit brighter than that. So we can come in and desaturate just a touch more and increase the value just a touch more. So that's about as much as I want to do on a highlight there. Okay, and so I'm going to take that. That's going to be my extreme on the highlight side. If I need a mid-tone value, it looks like this is pretty good, but I'm going to mix it down just a little bit more. It's a little bit like that, and then we'll desaturate just some because it's not that saturated. All right, so now this is good enough for now, and we can kind of mix with this later if we want to. So those are the 3 values that I'm going to work here. And this is actually maybe a little dark, so we can pull this up just a touch. And let's just push that there. Okay, so now that we've got that, the first thing I notice, I'm just going to get rid of this. Actually, I'm just going to change this to this color. We'll deal with that later. The first thing I notice is that this sticks out, right, as much as this does. And so I'm going to grab this, and we'll just change that right there. I'm going to grab these 3 things, and I'm going to make them bigger. I'm just going to make them wider. About like that is probably good. Come in just a touch. There we go. Okay, so now we've got kind of that silhouette going on. That'll help. And then on this, we actually have kind of this bending. And so let's try an experiment here. I wonder if, because we'll have, if we just have like this and we'll go copy, paste behind, we'll come down a little bit and grab that like that. And then I want this shape to actually wrap around to the inside of this. And so instead of using this, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab this inside edge. So I'm going to grab these with my white arrow tool. Okay, and I'm going to copy paste in front. Okay, so let's turn that to, let's grab this shape now. Somehow, let's lock that down. I don't know why there we go. Okay, and I'm going to just, I don't know what I'm grabbing here. There's something weird going on.
It's the top of the thing where it connects.
But why can't I get this thing? Is it inside of the group? Let's see what's going on. It's a compound path. I'm going to undo what I just did, so let's go back here. A couple steps. Okay, so that, we just want these. We're going to copy, and then, only, there we go. Okay, so I don't know why that was being weird. I'm going to put this on the stroke, and I'm going to put this all the way on the top here, so we'll just go right about there. That's good. And I want to throw this on the top of everything that we're dealing with. And so where are we? So that's there, and I want it to be in the latch, so I'm going to click there, I'll right click and go send current layer, and I'll bring this to the top of that layer. Okay, so now what I want to do is, this does gradiate a little bit, and it gets thicker and brighter at the top. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to have it go right about here. Get rid of this one. And on this side it stops a little bit short. And asymmetry is good in realism. So if you have an opportunity to even just a little bit give yourself some asymmetry, it can help. And then I'm just going to grab here and pull with Alt. I'm just going to increase that highlight up here. So I'm just using my line width tool. Do the same over here.
Oh, this is a lot easier than I thought it would be because I was looking at that and I was so lost.
Yeah, we can make it a lot harder sometimes. Okay, so that's that. And then I'm going to grab this whole thing. And I'm just going to make it a little bit wider and taller. Because I want to have that edge on the inside. Holding Alt as I spread this out a little bit. There we go. Okay, but now we've got to mix it in, okay? And so that's where we go to Effect, document raster settings, change that to 300, which is it's already there, so that's good. And then we're going to try a blur. So we'll try a Gaussian blur. I just want to fuzz the edge just a little bit. This is going to be way too much. I'll hit preview and it disappears. And so we slide this radius down. And I'm just going to go almost to nothing. So I just want to just fuzz the edge just a touch. Just a little bit. Okay, and so let's just go a little bit more in the pixel. That's good. And so we'll click OK. And then I'm going to come in to my transparency panel. I'm going to drop my opacity a little bit so it mixes down. Let's try screen, overlay. Okay, so remember overlay because that gives us that nice green color. So I think we're going to go with screen, and then I'm going to mix this just down a little bit like that. So you can kind of just hit that. I don't actually know if I like that Gaussian blur, so I'm going to turn that off. See how that looks from far away. Let's see how it looks with the Gaussian blur. A little bit better. It's kind of fuzzy. I wonder if we're yeah, that's all right. With that. Yeah, I like it with. So grab that, leave the Gaussian blur on just a touch, just to give it a little bit of a fuzz edge. Okay, and then we'll come back in here and let's tackle this part now. And so I'm going to grab this whole thing and down here change this to draw inside. So that's drawing modes, draw inside. And now I can come over and I'm going to just make a shape that's just inside of this like that. We'll round it out and I'm going to make this highlight color and change it to overlay. And then we'll mix it down a little bit like that. Okay, and then we can kind of manipulate this shape. It's curved at the top, so we can kind of grab this with our hit return to get out of there. Shift C, kind of pull this up just a little bit like that. Then I'm going to take these two, and because we did the draw inside, we can just pull this down because it's clipped off.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want that to be a blacker edge there, and so we'll leave kind of a darker edge there. And now let's do a Gaussian blur on that as well. I'm going to pop this one just a little bit more, just to get that edge. Okay, so that's good there, and we can still come in and grab this. We have to see where it is. We can still come in and grab this and kind of pull it in a little bit if we want. I just want to get a little bit more of that black edge.
Mm-hmm.
And since we did a Gaussian blur, it's going to pull it out. Okay, so now we've got that. And if I want to, I can kind of strengthen this black edge a little bit, by kind of pulling these up a little bit more. Pull them out a little bit more. That'll help there. Okay, and I actually think that we need to pull this in tighter. There we go. And pull this in tighter. Okay, there we go. So now we're kind of building that up. Okay, now we've got this down here. We can just get rid of this. And I've already built this, so I'm just going to grab this and hit O, Alt-click, and
So
flip it over.
Oh, the shortcut for.
So O is the shortcut for the reflect tool.
Okay.
And so wherever you alt-click, it will reflect across that point. So I'm just going to bring this down here, but I'm going to cut it off. And so I'm going to delete these anchor points. Okay, and then we'll go Shift. So we still have these guys. I'm just going to slide this over a little bit. Okay, and these can be smaller. That one can go away. That one can go away. That one can go away. We'll just bring this to a point. Okay, feel like this is a little bit lighter in value than this, right? This seems brighter to me. And so I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to further decrease the value of that just to knock it back just a little bit more. Okay, and so then we'll back this up. Okay, and you can kind of see that's starting to have kind of a similar look to that.
Okay.
Right? And so we're just building up the values as we see them. And so what you would do next is we can cut out this little piece here. And so we're just going to make a guy like this, round off. We'll make it this main color. I'm still drawing inside. That's what's going on. I was trying to figure out why I couldn't see it. Okay, so I still had draw inside mode, so I'll go draw normal. And we'll go rectangle, and it actually goes quite high. And it's down here. We'll round it out. All right, so that's that. And we can center this because we want to make sure that it's centered. So I'm going to grab this object, click one more time to make that the key object. Click here and we'll center that so we know it's centered. Okay, and then I see several things that are outside of this. Okay, and so I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab this shape and I'm going to go Object, Path, Offset Path. Okay, I'm actually going to change this to pixels instead of inches and go Object, Path, Offset Path. Preview. Okay, and we're going to get just outside, probably 1 pixel. Like that. That'll be good there. And then I'm just going to add, do I want to do it that way? I might. We'll see. I'm just going to add a little bit of a stroke to that outside edge, and so we'll go a little bit more like that. And then we'll throw it to the inside. We'll throw this back a step. And so now I want to make sure that I got the other one good. Okay. So now this one, we're going to make it a lighter value color and lock it. Command 2 will lock it. I'm going to grab this one and I want to cut it with this other shape. And so I'm going to grab this shape and I'm going to come in with my shape builder tool and just cut it. Why didn't it cut? It really should cut, but maybe it's because, oh, well, I don't know why it's not cutting. It might be because this is a complex object. So let's grab that one. So that's that clip group. And where is this? Okay, so we'll put this path inside of this clip group. And then we'll put it on top of everything else.
Stop. Here. My worst fear.
That's the path. Okay, so we also need to put that highlight so that we can have it in the right spot as well. So that's that one, so put that in the clip group. And we'll put it underneath there. There we go. Okay, now I can take this object, and I'm just going to blur that, probably not much. So just enough so where it kind of blends in with the rest of everything else. Kind of like that's fine. Okay. And just for fun, let's see what happens if we throw that highlight to the outside edge. It's a little bit better. All right. Okay, now let's unlock this. Command-Alt-2. Okay, and we've got this one, and I've got a specular highlight there. And I've got a highlight here, and so I can come in and I'll say, let's draw inside, like that, and we'll go like this with our highlight color, and we'll blur it, and we might want to blur it a little bit more, we'll see. If I go just a touch more. Yeah, that's good there. And then I'm just going to shrink it down, so I'm holding Alt while I do this. Pull this down this way. I feel like it's not quite on the edge there, so we'll leave that kind of edge by itself. Pull this in a little bit thinner. Okay, and then I'm going to screen, knock it back some, just a little bit. I like that. Don't want to make another one, so I'm just going to grab that and drag it down here. Make it smaller.
That's crazy.
Okay, so let's look at that. Yeah, so see that starting to build up?
Mm-hmm.
How that works there. Let's get out of drawn side so we can see. And so now you get kind of that shape and you get that feel. And so basically all you're doing is you're just looking at stuff and you're trying to figure out how the values are depicting the form, right? And so right now what we're not doing a good job of is this seems to be higher here and then bend down and then bend up. And so we need like some black here. And so I can take these shapes that already exist, double click to get inside, grab this one. I'm going to make a copy here. I'm going to throw this on top. I'm going to change the color of it to be our dark highlight color. And then I'm going to change the shape of it probably. I'm going to pull this out this way because I want it to cover a little bit. Do the same thing down underneath that as well. Okay, now when we get out of isolation mode, you'll see it start to bend. Okay, and we can come in and we can say, actually, I need this to copy paste in front. Oops, let's get the whole shape. So I need this to be brighter. And so we can make it wider like this. And then we can pump up the opacity so it's not mixing as much. We need that to be a little bit more of a specular highlight. And since we're going for specular highlight, we can sharpen it up so it's not so much of a blur. It'll be a little bit more specular that way. Okay. And then we just need to cut into this, right? And so we can just grab this shape again, or just make our own. Probably would be easier just to make our own, so I'm just going to come in like this. And I can't tell in this reference what's going on, so I'm just going to guess. But that'll be good, and then we'll grab this top shape and this shape, cut them like that. And then that gives us the opportunity to add.
So how did you cut it?
Yeah, so if you have a shape like this, and then you have another shape like we had, and you grab both of those, Shift M will give you your shape builder tool.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alt, click and drag will cut.
Okay.
So when you hold Alt, it turns that into a minus.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can just come in and just say, okay, we need it to be like dark here. And so we can just come in and just kind of add dark value. And somehow, probably not on the right layer. We're not drawn side. We're back on the reference layer. So let's come back up to the latch. And we'll go right click, arrange, center layer. There we go. Okay, so now we're there, and probably watch face, top watch band. That's where we need to be. And so let's grab this shape and put it in top watch band, probably inside of this group. Let's go to the top, maybe not inside of that group, above that group, above this. Oh, it's in the bottom watch band. There we go. There we are. That makes sense. Okay. There we go. So then we can just kind of pull this down, pull it over. Let's just go right up in there like that. Now I'm going to need it to So we'll want these corners to not blend. So let's just go like that. Match this right there. And we'll come down here. With our white arrow tool, I'm just going to select this anchor point and this anchor point. I'll just pull those two in. There we go. We can use that to cut as well. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay, but that'll give you the general gist of that top shape. Okay, so that's good. That's good there. Then where you have some very bright, those are probably too bright, and it looks like you're using a gradient there instead of other things. And
Because
so
I had no idea what to do, so I was just like, well, I'll put a gradient on it and see what happens.
yeah, okay. So let's take a look at kind of the rest of this plastic here and see if we can get a kind of a better idea. I'm gonna undo this. So let's come back, go here. Okay, so and this might be where I switch, but we could start with this. So let's look at these. Okay, so you're using some harder lines up here, right? Let's just lock this down. Some harder lines up here.
Part of the problem is I also did not blur anything, so I'm just like rolling with it.
Right, yeah. And that's okay, because you can come in and you can overlay and kind of blow stuff out there. Let me stop this here.